You're watching the Run Fruit YouTube channel. I'm Finlay, and this episode is on the brand new Nike Vaporfly 4 running shoes. Nike sent a pair of the Proto Edition for testing, so we'll talk through the tech, how they feel to run in, and what they're best suited to. Hope you enjoy. Nike has stated that the new Vaporfly 4 has lots of minor tweaks, which should together all add up to big performance gains. And while we agree there's lots of small changes, we would suggest there's some pretty big updates to the Vaporfly 4. And what's very apparent is that the gap between the Vaporfly and Alphafly has got a lot bigger as a result of these updates. And it's likely a greater proportion of runners will prefer one over the other, particularly over a specific distance. So starting with the midsole then. The Vaporfly 4 features an evolved ZoomX foam, and while we can't go into more detail about the foam makeup, it's well known that Nike's ZoomX foam varies from model to model, and the hope is that this evolved ZoomX foam offers more energy return and is lighter. Next, the midsole stack has been reduced, and this is a fairly major change to the Vaporfly 4. We're not going to put set numbers on the stack height of the heel and the forefoot because Nike hasn't confirmed this yet, but the drop is 6 mm. But what's most important is the stack height feels significantly lower than the Alphafly. It's still relatively high and there's a lot of foam under your feet, but that is one of the most noticeable changes in the midsole. And this serves two purposes. Firstly, it helps bring the weight down of the Vaporfly 4 and also increases the responsiveness of the midsole. The final points on the midsole foam are the new heel shaping design and the volume of foam in the forefoot. So when it comes to this reductive heel design, that helps save weight from the midsole, but it also increases the inherent stability of the foam. When it comes to the forefoot section, the new outsole rubber is actually slightly thinner, and that means that Nike has been able to put slightly more ZoomX foam in the forefoot. Onto the carbon fiber thigh plate. Nike states that the new curvature helps unlock more leverage at the foot and ankle, while also increasing the energy return generated from the midsole. Well, what does that mean? Well, firstly, if we look at the side here, on the lateral side, you can actually now see the carbon fiber plate, and the angle has increased from 15 degrees to 20 degrees. And that's pretty important because that increase in angle in the plate scoop should improve the teeter-totter effect of the midsole. So what happens as you transition through the midsole and more force is applied to the front of the shoe, that should create more upward force at the back and help roll your feet forward, therefore improving propulsion. It also helps increase the energy storage in the plate and midsole system, which should just deliver a more energetic underfoot experience. When it comes to the upper of the Vaporfly 4, a fairly major change is that it no longer features Nike's Flyknit material. Instead, it's now an engineered mesh with very breathable zones. So you can see the top of the toe box there, how open that is, letting lots of excess heat escape. And again, it's all about keeping the weight as down as much as possible. The upper has been really stripped back. There's very minimal amounts of padding on the tongue. The amount of padding around the heel counter has been reduced, but there is still some foam pods on the inside of the heel counter there that you should hopefully be able to see. Adds a little bit of structure and cushioning around there. And I guess what is good to see is that in the toe box, there is still some structure, some support around there, which helps improve the durability. So while Nike has tried to remove as much as possible from the upper to keep the weight down as much as they can, there are still those key points of support and structure that you need, particularly if you're racing longer distance events such as the marathon. When it comes to the fit, we recommend you choose your normal running shoe size. It offers a pretty accommodating fit in the toe box. It should fit a range of foot shapes, including those of you who have slightly broader feet. I have quite wide feet, and I find the forefoot very accommodating. The midfoot lockdown is definitely better than the previous version. And while the ankle lockdown is better than the last version, it still doesn't offer brilliant lockdown there, and not as much as what the Alphafly does. And it's important to state that I didn't have any issues with the ankle lockdown when I was running fast. So if you put them on and you do feel that it's a bit loose around the back of the ankle, don't let that put you off. Just take your time to get the fit right, and you should find that when you're running, it feels pretty supportive and really good. There is actually quite a lot of structure at the back of the ankle here. You can see, hopefully in the light there, those sections of support that do improve the structure. It's just, if you like a really secure, locked in feel at the back of the shoe, then Vaporfly 4 might not be the best option for you. And I guess in future versions of the Vaporfly, it would definitely be something that would be good to see, and that ankle getting really secure and really fitted at the back of the shoe. On to the performance then. We tested the Vaporfly 4 out at a range of speeds, everything from slow paces all the way up to faster than 5k race pace. And what's great is the midsole feels absolutely incredible at 5k and 10k paces. And this is really down to just how responsive the midsole feels. It's also very clear how much the plate angle can help improve the performance too, because it feels a lot more propulsive underfoot. Obviously, the weight reduction also plays its part there, and we'll come back to more comparisons with the Alphafly in a few moments, but this is where the weight reduction makes it feel very different from the Alphafly. So overall, the new construction feels a lot lighter and a lot more agile under your feet, which means at faster paces, or when you're trying to run as quickly as possible, the Vaporfly 4 just feels a lot better to run in than the Vaporfly 3. And importantly, the combination of the new heel design and the slightly lower stack really improves the inherent stability of the midsole. It feels a lot more stable underfoot, which is particularly good when you're taking corners at pace. It really increases your confidence. At half marathon and marathon speeds, the midsole still feels very propulsive, but as a heel striker, I definitely noticed the reduction in the stack height. While the lower stack height helps improve the performance at faster speeds, it doesn't feel quite as propulsive or protective as the Alphafly. So when you slow down slightly, it's likely that if you're striking closer to the heel, the midsole won't roll your feet forward quite as efficiently as the slightly higher stacked Alphafly will. So does that mean that the Vaporfly 4 are better suited to mid to forefoot strikers? Well, it's not as black and white as that. Yes, if you're racing a half marathon or marathon and you're a heel striker, it's likely that the Alphafly 3 have the potential to be the better option for you. But at the same time, if somebody's striking on the mid to forefoot, it doesn't mean that the Vaporfly 4 is going to be the best option for them racing half marathons or marathons. The Alphafly 3 might still be the better choice for those runners. It's just that the Vaporfly 4 will suit those types of biomechanics slightly better over longer distance events than they will for heel strikers. And you just have to look at the bottom of the shoe to see where the outsole rubber is placed. There is not a lot of coverage at the back of the shoe, so I think I'm going to burn through these pretty quickly if I'm racing long distances in them. Additionally, the Vaporfly 4 should feel better for heel strikers than the Alphafly 3 in shorter distance events. This is down to the fact that the midsole feels so much lighter and more responsive, which helps you sustain your pace when you're trying to run as fast as possible, irrespective of where you land on your foot. And this is exactly in line with how Nike has designed these models. The Vaporfly 4 are Nike's lightest marathon racing shoes, and they have the potential to offer best-in-class performance from all distances that range from 5k up to the marathon. In contrast, the Alphafly 3 are optimized for longer distance events, specifically half marathon and marathon racing. And this is a pretty important point, as the Alphafly 3 have the potential to work for a pretty broad spectrum of paces and abilities in marathon distance racing. However, it's pretty likely that the Vaporfly 4 are going to be most suited to slightly faster paced runners who are aiming for really quick times in marathon events. And in line with a lot of the content in this episode on a personal level, I'm going to use the Vaporfly 4 for shorter distance events, so 5k and 10k, but I'll continue to use the Alphafly 3 for longer distance races in half marathon and the marathon. And this is different to the past because I would have always opted for the Alphafly 3 even in shorter distance events because I didn't find I was getting that increase in propulsion from the Vaporfly 3. I was really getting the benefit from that midsole geometry for those shorter events. So that's where the Vaporfly 4 offers that much clearer point of difference to the Alphafly 3. And what's fair to say is that overall, the Vaporfly 4 are a fairly major improvement on the Vaporfly 3. They feel more responsive, more propulsive, lighter, and more stable underfoot than the previous model. So I'm not sure you can ask for too much more with a model upgrade. What we're not going to say is that these are the best super shoes and best racing shoes because you simply can't. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own biomechanics and everybody will respond differently to super shoes. When we say people will respond differently to super shoes, we're talking about how much your running economy will improve. And while we're making some generalizations in this episode about what each model will be best suited to, you can get two runners who will respond completely differently to the Vaporfly or the Alphafly in the same distance of run. And that might be very contrasting to what we are talking about in this episode. So it's not a perfect science there. And I think coming back to that point of difference, it is great that the Alphafly and Vaporfly are going to feel very different under your feet because it means that you can choose what you like to run in and what feels best for you when you're racing. And that brings me to the end of this Nike Vaporfly 4 running shoe review. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As always, if you have any questions, please comment on the episode and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. See you soon.